Carlos Baleba to Manchester United. It's just got real. It feels like it's happening now. I don't know. I'm becoming a Baleba. Fabrizio Romano has dropped a big update on Carlos Baleba, pretty much confirming Manchester United are in negotiations of his salary, personal terms, all of this stuff that Man United wouldn't do if they weren't planning to get the deal done. They know it's going to be expensive, and they're still working on this. There's lots of other updates on Baleba and developments coming out tonight, and it feels good. I have a feeling it's happening, guys. We're going to talk about that. We'll give you the latest on Donnarumma. We'll give you the latest on Højlund. We discussed a lot about that in my show earlier today. But hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup. Well, we round up all the latest Manchester United news in 10 minutes for you guys, and I wasn't going to do a late night roundup. And then I saw this story, and I was like, even though it's going to come out at 11:30 instead of 10:30, which is my normal late night roundup time, I just got to cover this. I'm excited. I've never thought we were going to get Baleba. I still feel like it's difficult. Something tells me we're going to do this. And I was talking to Minna yesterday on her channel. Go check out the video we did together on Two Touch, Minna's channel. But we were like, Benjamin Sesko. We never thought we were going to get Benjamin Sesko. Then we were linked to him like out of nowhere. And the links just advanced quite quick. And then we got the deal done. And it's like Carlos Baleba. We never thought we were going to get Carlos Baleba. But then we were linked to him quite quickly. And like, maybe we can get a deal done fast. It felt like with Mbumo, Man United just couldn't get any deal done fast. It was giving Murta Arnold energy again, guys. But I feel like Ineos have proven with the Sesko deal that if they want to do a deal quick now, they can. But let's talk about the news. Manchester United are speaking again and again, even today, with the agents of Carlos Baleba about contract and salary. So the last few days they've had contact with Carlos Baleba. He's not told them no. They're now negotiating personal terms. United want to advance on the player side and then see what happens with Brighton. Man United want to try. That is huge. That is huge news. That is, we are working on personal terms. We know that it's going to be like £100 million deal, but we're still going to give it a go. We're still going to try. We're working on the salary, the contract, the personal terms. I'm starting to become a Baleba. Like, Manchester United would not be doing this if they don't plan to get the deal done. Of course, if Brighton start asking for 120 million, it might not happen. But if Brighton get to 90 million, which they could push from 104 down to 90, João Pedro was targeted at 90, up to 60. The player starts pushing for a move, says he's not going to sign a new deal. There's a possibility this happens. Agent Mbumo, Agent Yoro, Agent Anana, get on the case. Because apparently he wants to come to United. Well, obviously he does. We've known that from about 4 sources. United faithfuls made a good point here as well. United clearly using the same Sesko approach for Baleba. Definitely go give United faithfuls a follow on X, by the way. I follow they're really good for like good opinions and updating your news. But they say they're using our Sesko approach for a Baleba. Agree a contract with the player, ensure he wants to come, then approach the club with the player telling them he wants to move, which makes club-to-club negotiations a bit easier than United. I've been very critical of our transfer. We haven't sold anyone. I don't think it's been the best transfer window in that sense. And the transfer approach and Mbumo taking so much time. But weirdly, I like this approach. When the player wants to come, you can potentially get the price down. It didn't work with Brentford and Mbumo. It might not work with Brighton and Baleba because we finished 15th and Brighton know we're desperate for a midfielder. It might not work. But we did work with Sesko. Cunha had the release clause. It did work with Sesko. And it's worth giving it a try. Now, one of the best journalists in the space who doesn't come out unless he's got genuine information. He works with Ornstein and lots of people at The Athletic. Andy Mitten, he was very spot on with the Gyökeres situation, actually gave an update on Carlos Baleba. And he said, I don't think Baleba to Manchester United is an absolute guarantee purely because of the financial reasons. But if you ask United now if they want him, they will say yes. If you ask the player if he wants to join United, the answer is absolutely yes. Andy Mitten, one of the best journalists in the space, saying that Baleba absolutely wants to join United. If you ask Brighton if they sell him for a cut price deal, that's not happening. But Manchester United want him, yes. And Carlos Baleba absolutely wants to move, was said by Andy Mitten. So again, for me, that's a pretty significant development there. Carlos Baleba, his agent, is speaking with Manchester United. Romano said, from what I feel, Manchester United want to try and say, okay, we believe Baleba is the perfect player. We are very happy with our market. Now they say if we can get the perfect midfielder for good, otherwise we'll move on, but we want to try. Romano said on regards to Carlos Baleba to United, United feel that they've got a chance, they're going to try, and if they don't get him, they'll move on to another midfielder. Apparently Adam Wharton, according to Indy Cala, but he's not going to be cheaper than Baleba. I don't think it's going to be cheaper than Baleba, and I think Baleba's better, and Wharton's got the English tax. But that was a significant update there in regards to Carlos Baleba. You've got the best sources of information coming out, basically being like, yeah, Man United want to give this a try. Man United like the player. They want to give this a try. They're talking about it. Like, it feels like every day this Baleba to Man United is feeling more and more realistic. Andy Mitten also added that there's interest in a lot of Manchester United players from Brighton as well. So, not that there's a lot of interest in Man United players from Brighton. He said there's a lot of interest in Manchester United players, and sometimes when the season starts and the player realises they're not going to play, they're more likely to move on. So this was something different to Carlos Baleba, but Andy Mitten also suggested in the Athletic podcast earlier today that some of the Manchester United players that might not be leaving now when they realise they're not going to play as much might leave late in the window, which potentially could be used to fund a deal for Baleba. What Andy Mitten said on Baleba is a compromise may be needed, and Manchester United could maybe offer Brighton some of their attractive players to get the price down, potentially as well. However, the one problem we have with offering one of our players to Brighton in exchange for the deal, because let's be honest, Rasmus Højlund, Brighton have lost João Pedro, they've lost Evan Ferguson, for example. One of the problems in that is the player would have to probably significantly cut his wage to go to Brighton to fit in with their wage structure. Højlund isn't crazy money. I'm not going to say we're going to offer Højlund to Brighton or Collier. Apparently that won't happen. But there's talk of United maybe looking at offering a player to Brighton to get the fee down. I think if we sell Garnacho and we sell Højlund, Baleba's on. Let's talk about the latest from Donnarumma, because it always felt like we were going to go for Sen Lamens, but it is looking otherwise. The prospect of acquiring Lamens at modest fee has always been a viable option for Manchester United. However, the idea of landing Donnarumma for a relative steal has changed this dynamic. He's considered complementary to Project 150. Basically, United like Lamens, and I think if we get Baleba, we'll probably get Lamens, because I don't think we could do Baleba and Donnarumma. But United, like, if we don't get Baleba and we get a cheaper midfielder, we might as well go for Donnarumma, 26 million experienced keeper that's good enough to displace Onana. I don't know if we could afford Donnarumma on top of Baleba, because Donnarumma's wages, having two goalkeepers on 200k a week is not probably the most ideal situation. Look, if we get Carlos Baleba, I don't care what happens in goal. Donnarumma, I think he's a bit overrated, but I think he's a good keeper. I think he'd be an improvement on Onana. Lamens, I don't know how ready he is. Donnarumma's obviously the better player now. All I care about right now is Carlos Baleba, and if we can get a new keeper in Donnarumma, that's a bonus. But Carlos Baleba for me. Carlos Baleba for me. And last but not least, let's talk about Højlund, because maybe his exit is needed to facilitate some moves. So as we discussed on our live stream earlier, Højlund, he was on the bench today. Amorim said post-match we needed a striker. Never took Højlund off the bench. He's not wanted. AC Milan have started discussions via intermediaries numbers of Rasmus Højlund deal. Understand there are details like a £5 million loan fee and about £40 million buy option and salary covered. But they've got no green light from the player yet, because Højlund insists on playing. Højlund's continued to insist on playing, which brings me back to what Andy Mitten said earlier today. Some players want to stay at Manchester United, but when we get a few games in the season and they realise they're not going to play, their stance could change. Maybe that's Højlund. Ben Jacobs also said today that Milan are working on a loan for Højlund, as reported yesterday. Manchester United are prepared to sanction the exit, whether loan or permanent, but Højlund might need some convincing. His comments in America made it clear he wants to stay. Højlund may need some convincing, but United are doing what they can to potentially push him out. Anyway, people, thank you for watching today's video. Feel free to hit that like button if you did enjoy it. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. See you next time. Bye.